Here it is. There we go. All right. Yeah, just in case. You always want to have as much content as possible, right?
Always.
Yeah. And people love these kind of like Zoom call contents where it like cuts from your face to my face for whatever reason because it's just super engaging. So maybe
I've
there'll be
never seen that before. So this is a whole new experience for me.
okay. Interesting. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
maybe we should just start by like mentioning our general philosophies around fitness. I was kind of thinking about that. Like you can say, who you are, kind of who you train, and what's your general philosophy. I could go first if you want.
Totally.
Okay. Sweet. So yeah, so I'm Garrett Wolf, obviously, and I train 18 to 35-year-old skinny fat men. So basically, I was a skinny fat man myself a long time ago when I was about 14 years old is when I started training. Um, and so basically I was like a gamer. I sat at the computer all day at a desk, like playing games 8 to 10 hours a day. That was originally what I wanted to do as a profession. I wanted to go pro in gaming. And it just made me super depressed, super anxious, all kinds of problems from, sitting down all day at a computer and just staring at a screen and doing nothing. I was super depressed, low confidence. I wanted to be able to talk to girls, but as a gamer, like there's no way to really converse with girls. They don't really care about games or anything like that. So, super low confidence. So I decided to, switch it up, had a huge life change, went into the gym. Originally, I just started training at my dad's apartment gym like every other weekend. And that kind of just spiraled into training, as much as possible. I got super addicted. And so now my general philosophy is for skinny fat men, they generally go about it the wrong way because what I did was I tried to cut down all my body fat first. And in doing that, I was a skinny fat man, so I had no muscle, just a bunch of fat. So I cut down and obviously I had to lower my calories to an insanely low number. I remember the lowest I think I went was about 1100. Um, so I was at 1100 calories a day. I was cutting fat given, doing crazy hit workouts in my basement. But I ended up turning into like a stick figure because I had no muscle. And then once I got rid of the fat, like now I'm just a stick figure. Not to mention that if I wanted to stay skinny, like I would have to continue eating 1100 calories every day. So obviously not sustainable. And that's why it took me like 5 to 6 years to actually get like a muscular, more athletic physique rather than a skinny fat physique. And so that's what brings me to my general philosophy of training skinny fat men is that you need to go about it the other way, add muscle first, especially since you're already skinny fat. You probably like eating food anyway. So honestly, just leave your diet how it is. Try to gain some muscle for 2 to 3 months. That's phase one. And then once you're happy with and the only measurement of progress while you're gaining muscle is just going to be strength increase in the gym. Obviously, super easy to track. So then, once you pack on muscle for 2 to 3 months and you're happy with your general amount of muscle mass, you can cut down super easily because your metabolism will be raised from all the muscle that you added. So all you have to do is lower your calories by like 1 to 300 and then lower them by 100 each week after that if you're not losing weight. And you should simply lose weight and, change that skinny fat physique if everything goes according to plan. So that's kind of the spiel that I go for. What do you guys
Awesome.
think? You got any thoughts on that?
I think that's awesome. I thought it's really cool that you lived the experience as well. So you're not just like, and not that you have to be, overweight or skinny to be able to coach people. You can do a lot of learning, but it helps with that kind of mindset and that empathic, compassionate approach with your clients. Cause you can say like, I'm calling you on your shit because I've been there instead of, I'm calling you on your shit because I know better.
Right, right. Yeah, it definitely helps with like getting into the whole mind of your ideal client because I obviously was the ideal client. So that's kind of the best way to go about it. Love it. All right. Does one of you guys want to share?
Sam, you want to go first?
Sure. So, what am I talking about? What I do? I just
Yeah.
got so lost there for a second.
Yeah, whatever you want. So I know I went on a tangent there for a little bit, but
Cool. So yeah, I train busy moms, moms who are trying to get their bodies back from having children. So I've focused all of my energy um onto that because I know what it feels like to be alone, being a mom and not knowing um not knowing like what to do and how we all need that support in order to grow. So I've always I'm targeting moms, more like newly moms, but at any stage of being a mom, when you have younger kids, it can be super hard. So I totally understand that.
Okay, cool. Love that. Do you have like a general philosophy or approach that you kind of put new moms in to achieve like the greatest outcome or the best results?
I haven't really gotten to that part yet. I haven't,
Okay.
like, I kind of do. I follow a lot of what Caitlin does because we are like a team together. So I do that, but I wouldn't say I have a necessary ex like I don't know, exact approach maybe.
Gotcha. It's different, like woman to woman.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That makes sense. Okay, cool. Love it. What about you, Caitlin?
So obviously I work with moms too, busy moms, more specifically moms of younger children, but I do also work with moms who are in that kind of menopause stage of parenting, so I like to call it, because we never stop being a mom. I got into this because I was 110 pounds overweight when I had my first baby. So, and I gained that in 9 months. I went from 110 pounds to over 220 pounds, and then I lost all of that on my own in less than a year.
Wow.
So I learned how to lose weight efficiently, but I also learned how to lose weight very, very dangerously. And what I saw in that was, again, same kind of thing as you. I cut my calories, cut my calories, cut my calories, cut my calories. And eventually I got to 1,200 calories. So to maintain my weight, I had to stay there. So I ate 1,200 calories forever and ever and ever to maintain my size at 130, 125 pounds. So when I work with moms, my approach is to fix their metabolism first so that they can get up to eating 18, 19, 2,000, 2,100 calories and still lose weight, which is where I've managed to get my metabolism to, eating 2,100 calories in a deficit through weight training and focused on reverse dieting and just bringing up their eating and helping their mindset around food along the way. So when I start a program with my clients, my focus is always metabolism and strength training. I don't even prescribe cardio. They get steps and they get water. We're not looking at trying to burn fat. They will lose size in the process, but first and foremost, I want to get them up so that when they do go into a deficit and we start a shred protocol or a quicker fat loss, short term, like for summer, say, or maybe they'll go into a 12-week lifestyle diet, but their body will actually respond with fat loss as opposed to just metabolic adaptation down, 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 down until they're starving just to maintain their crappy weight.
Right. No, I totally agree. We have sort of like a similar approach there. Because I was going to ask, I've never actually trained a woman myself. So would you say it's generally the same philosophy? Because women have to go even lower in calories, obviously, than men do to cut down. So, and it's obviously harder to gain muscle for a woman typically because of the lack of testosterone and things. So would you typically say you would, if you had like just average woman, like 130 pound, 5'7", whatever, just average woman who wants to get in shape, but they seem to think that, similar to what I thought, that they just want to cut down body fat first and kind of go on these crazy diets. Would you say that's generally not the best idea and you would want to get them to pack on muscle first?
I would want them to build muscle and learn to eat more first. Yeah, I definitely, and macros and training with men and women can be very similar, but they're also very, very different. Like our hormones require a lot more fat to support development and our, so like I wouldn't, ideally I'm having a client eating over 1,600 calories. I don't want to drop their fat intake below 50 grams because anything lower than that, we start to see issues with hormones, especially because we have so many hormonal disorders that we deal with, like PCOS, and then we've got adrenal issues along that. Like there's a spectrum of things to consider. So calories at really think of, and then a training protocol for a female would be slightly different. Like I'm not going to train traps as hard, and I'm probably going to change the chest protocol a bit to make sure that we're developing that lower pack, because a lot of times women will just train a man's program and end up with flat saggy boobs, and it's not cute.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Okay, so you have them focus on more or less like squats and hip thrusts and things as the full body movements rather than like a bench press and an overhead press type of thing?
Yeah, it really depends on the woman, right? So when we work with moms, we kind of meet them where they're at. So some of our moms have 20 minutes to work out 3 or 4 times a week. So it really limits the program. So when you only have 20 minutes, then every workout you do is going to be whole body. If you can give me 4 days and a little bit more time, we can look at a more muscle group focused superset style split. But if not, like we're very times constrained. So overhead presses, yes, but most of the shoulder work is going to be more in like that lateral lifting and that delt pulling, as opposed to pushing overhead, where we develop a neck that comes into our shoulders.
Right. Right. So I'm curious then, say you have a woman that doesn't have all these like time constraints. I know you focus on moms who generally will always have time constraints, but I'm curious just, as a man that trains only men, like I mentioned, I never trained a woman before. So if you had just a woman that had no time constraints, would you prefer, in terms of maximizing recovery and overall gains, would you prefer putting them on a 3 times a week training plan or a 6 times a week training plan?
I would usually do 4.
4. Okay, interesting. So would you go for like an upper lower split then, or?
Yes. And typically, sometimes it depends on the woman. So a lot of women want to build their butt. So that means you're training butt 3 days a week. So then we have to look at arranging that protocol so that your upper day is hitting all of the muscle groups. And if there's no time constraint, then there's no problem. We can get really creative with that. But then you're training glutes 3 days a week. So it really depends on their goal specifically. But generally speaking, if it's just like a standard balanced program, I would do probably like a push-pull, hams and glutes, quads and glutes kind of day with a little bit of like accessory stuff mixed in.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking generally. So the principles are pretty similar. And then would you put them on similarly a gram per pound of body weight of protein every day, or is that too much?
Oh, it really depends. Like you have to be really careful because of how how our bodies work. So some women, if they're lower in weight, say they're in that 130, 160, they're not really overweight for their size, but they're kind of pushing it. You could do a gram to a 1.2 per pound of body weight. If they're plus 200, I would be looking at putting that in at per gram per pound of goal body weight, because when we push women who've been eating like 20% protein into that 40-50% range, it can be really hard on their liver and kidneys. And it's also impossible for people who are used to eating a lot of carbs to go, okay, well, now you're a carnivore. So enjoy this.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a struggle. It's definitely crazy, especially, yeah, for men over 200 pounds. I would still generally recommend they try to get that 1 gram per pound. And so it's like super hard for men if they don't have protein powders, because they just have to eat all kinds of meats all day. And I personally was a vegetarian for like 17 years. So I'm just now, because I'm only 21, so I'm just now kind of introducing all kinds of meats into my diet. And I freaking love them, to be honest with you. Like all these bodybuilders complain about eating chicken, rice, and broccoli, but that's my jam because I haven't eaten it all my life. So it's super delicious nowadays.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question for you because I don't really train men, but my partner's pretty athletic and he's been working out his whole damn life. How would you change macros for a man that is pushing into their 40s and wants to maintain their muscle mass?
Okay. So their only goal is to maintain muscle mass.
Well, I mean, his goal is he wants to put on more, and I'm trying to push him to avoid taking anything supplementary, we'll say. So making sure that they can still kind of continue a steady trajectory of putting on muscle mass so that when they start to decline more in their 50s and 60s, they've got more muscle mass on them to push them into their later stage life.
Right. Yeah. So I would probably have them get their testosterone checked, and not just the testosterone level, like also the hormone binding globulin, to make sure you know how much is actually flowing around, like free formed in your blood, because that's going to play a huge factor in like how big of a caloric surplus you're going to need them in. Like the lower the free testosterone, the more calories they're going to need, obviously the more protein. And for 40-year-old man, typically in our society nowadays, they're probably going to have lower testosterone for sure. So I would generally focus on probably a 3-day a week training plan, full body every single day, just with like high intensity full body lifts, focusing on just getting stronger, because if you're getting stronger, you're obviously packing on muscle. And just not really worry too much about the accessories. And then, I would put them anywhere from a 200 to a 500 calorie surplus, or even more if their testosterone is pretty low. And if it's like really low, obviously we have this whole I like to call it a secondary pandemic of TRT clinics popping up all over the place, because it is genuinely a horrible problem. I mean, just to get a little vulnerable, like I'm 21 years old. I got my testosterone checked and it was 408 individual units per deciliter, which is closer to the lower end of the spectrum. And I'm 21. Like I said, I've been active since I was 14. And there by no means is there any reason my testosterone should be that low. And so I can't imagine like how low it is for some of these men over 40 years old. So I would just inform them on that. And if it is something that they're willing to do, get them on TRT, because that's just going to make their goals so much easier. And they're starting to come out with like, the pellets that you can just put into your skin. So if you don't like injections, they're coming up with these other things that are pretty crazy. So pretty soon here, I'm thinking that that's going to be a problem that's going to be solved just because of all these clinics, like I said, popping up. They're starting to advance. It's getting pretty crazy. So that's what I would say generally.
Really cool.
It is really cool. I'm hoping they can do something similar for, all the women hormonal problems. Cause like I said, I'm not educated whatsoever on the topic. So I have no idea what you guys deal with, but our main concern is testosterone, and they're getting pretty good at dealing with that. So it's pretty cool. Nice.
That would be pretty sweet. The only thing that we have to really moderate our hormones is birth control, but that's not super great for us, unfortunately.
Yeah, it definitely hurts some people, helps some, right? Yeah, gotcha. All right.